Our next presenter is Professor Anoop Swarup. He's the founding Vice Chancellor of the Jagran Lakecity University. He's the chairman of the Center for Global Nonkilling and chairman of the Global Knowledge Alliance. He's the recipient of the Hiroshima Peace Award in Japan, the Presidential Award for the Republic of India, and also several honorary doctorates and fellowships and awards. Professor Swarup has over 40 years of distinguished professional experience in diverse roles, such as educationist, poet, peace activist, life scientist, futurist, social entrepreneur, and civil servant. So the United Nations Security Council representative, he was the representative appointed by the UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, and also he has been the Commissioner for Customs at the Government of India. So let us now give a warm welcome for Professor Anoop Swarup.
Thank you, Greg. I should at the outset compliment the Universal Peace Federation as well as the International Association of Academicians for Peace. This is a topic in these challenging times which is critically important for all of us, not in the oceanic region, but the entire world. So let me come straight to what I see from the UNESCO Charter, and it states that since aggression and threats of peace are in the minds of men, we should also build the bridges when it comes to peace, and these bridges are possible only through efforts and initiatives such as this one. So let me compliment you and also Chairman Yutaka, the very distinguished panelists here today. We heard both Professor Christopher Hill as well as Professor Biman Prasad, and the exposition was so good that I was just wondering what I have to speak next. So let me come straight to the point, and I address the viewers from across the globe. I think we are online on Facebook. So let me come straight to the point. And I was thinking, not only in terms of South China Sea, but of course, more importantly, the South Pacific and the Quad, which consists of course, United States, Australia, Japan, and India. And I was wondering, what is happening is actually intimidation of China. Now, when you're thinking of peace, I was thinking that I will come straight to the point, and peace implies creative approaches. These creative approaches can be through various means. And I was thinking of various pillars which can be there to build peace. And these pillars can be mutual respect for each other. Then there is very important, that is mutual non-interference, and then mutual coexistence. Also, sustainable development, as mentioned in the UPF theme, sustainable development, mutual prosperity, and also shared prosperity is so important in the region. That is possible only if the Pacific Islands get together. Now, the point is, what I was wondering, that post-COVID, of course, there are issues, and Christopher, very, I would say, he had explained the whole, the entire, in its gamut, the entirety of the issues, as of course, Professor Biman Prasad. So I'll not go into those details. I'll come to a very short point. And that short point is that there has to be a balancing act when it comes to the Pacific Islands. And that balancing act is important not only for their shared prosperity, but for mutual goodwill in the region. And if they get together, they will bring the Quad together, which means Australia, Japan, of course, United States and India. And that is possible if we focus on issues such as global warming. Global warming and the Board Declaration was an extraordinarily good move on the part of Pacific Islands. I feel that the Pacific Islands Forum should be expanded to have all the four, so that the Pacific, of course, there is a strategic geopolitical importance of the Pacific. It's a place, not only the biggest ocean, but also rich in resources. and also it can contain all the landmass of Earth in itself. So then that itself makes it very, very geostrategically important. Now, China would be interested not only in the mining resources, deep sea mining, I mean, and also in the sea lakes, because it needs, after all, energy security, because the Gulf lanes and by-lanes are very tedious. So they might be looking for another route through the Pacific and through Australasia. So that is one point. Second, of course, fishing. So China has its own interest, and national interest at times, it overtakes international process, international interest. So what is to be done is that the Pacific Islands, they can get together and form a approach which is creative, not only creative, but also which is fulfilling to all the parties in the region. That is quite possible in case we focus on energy security, global warming, development, good governance. These are the focal issues when I think of the Pacific Islands and Oceania as such. So these issues, if we focus on, make a forum which is all inclusive, not exclusive at all, where all the countries get together. This is how I think we can confront the emerging geopolitical problems, the challenge which we are going to face. Heading the Center for Global Non-Killing, I should mention that we have already expounded the view that peace is possible, and the peace has to be positive peace. And when I talk of positive peace, it has to be affirmative, it has to be positive, and it has to be non-killing peace. Now, when you talk in those terms, there's a reverence to life as such. There is much, much more, because we have to build the institutions that focus on peace. We have to not only build the institutions, but also empower these institutions. So that is very much possible to my mind if the Pacific Islanders get together. We all, of course, what is most important in our world today is freedom, democracy, and liberal norms. Those are the values which we can not only cultivate amongst the islands themselves, but also like a light, like a beacon, we can promote all over the globe. Why not? So when I'm talking about this, let me also say, and this is very important. Now, what is happening in the islands is one-upmanship. When you talk of one-upmanship, then there is no end. China, of course, has promoted the Asia Investment Bank. Now, the thing is that AIB should not be seen as a confrontation to the World Bank or to the Asian Development Bank, as most of the countries in the region are eyeing this. Also, Professor Biman rightly mentioned, he was talking that there is a debt trap. It might be happening in some countries. But then what is so important is we need that money. So maybe there are positive ways, affirmative ways, where we can have a dialogue with the Chinese, and we can come to a conclusion where the soft loans are provided on easy terms, not only from the Asia Investment Corporation or Asia Investment Bank, but also from the World Bank and the Asian Development Bank, and the entire world can get together, because there is a geostrategic importance of the Pacific oceanic islands, and it is important not only for global warming to counter environmental challenge, but also for shared prosperity in our entire world. So I'll just come to a very quick point. Instead of having mutually assured destruction, MAD as you call it, what we need is a mutually assured prosperity and peace, or MAP. And also we need, instead of lethality, we need all the investment which goes into the armies across the globe, into security concerns, to come for prosperity, for economic peace, for trade and development. I know that we had this TPP, or I call it Trans-Pacific Partnership, which was promoted earlier during the Obama regime, but unfortunately during Trump times, it was done away with. But that led a big gap. Now that gap has to be countered, and RCEP was something which was promoted by the Chinese, but many of the countries in the region, they withdrew. Now, the problem is that RCEP was meant for regionalization. As you said, we need mutual interdependence. We need a regional effort when it comes to trade and economics. And that is what the Pacific Island nations need. But instead of that, we went on a wrong course. So my only point is, and I will make it very clear right away, that instead of one-upmanship, instead of might is right, what we need is right should become the might, the other way around. And that is very much possible. And in the end, I would just quote from Mahatma Gandhi. He said, if we don't fight the darkness with light, then the whole world will become dark. So what we need here is a light, and I should compliment the Universal Peace Federation as well as the Academicians for Peace in the Oceania for having taken this great opportunity and to bring together experts and all the wisdom from across the globe to make the world a positive world for all of us. With these words, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Professor Swarup.